Hello everybody, my name's John, a retired cook from the northeast of England in the UK, and welcome to my latest video recipe. And in this one, and by the way, is my 300th video, I'll be making this great old British classic, and that's this incredibly tasty steak and kidney pudding. Now I'll be making what's called a beef suet pastry for this recipe, but don't worry, if you can't get beef suet where you live, I will be giving you a couple of alternatives. You can see the ingredients list and full written method for this recipe on the recipe page on the channel's website. And the link to that page and lots more is in the description box under the video. Just find and click on the word more, and that'll give you access to all the relative links for this video, including our website store products. Okay, let's get on with today's recipe. I'll start the recipe by making the filling for this pudding. Get a large frying pan on a high heat and add a tablespoon of cooking oil. And I'm using olive oil. Once the pan's hot, you can add your beef. And in my case, I'm using a nice lean stewing beef. Now fry that until it's brown. Once the meat's brown, you can add your finely diced medium-sized onion. Now continue frying and tossing for a couple of minutes until the onions have some colour too. Once you're happy, add it to a medium-sized saucepan that has a good fitting lid. Now switch to a medium heat under the pan. Now you can add your beef stock. If you don't have any natural beef stock, simply use a couple of beef stock cubes. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the kidney. That goes in near the end, when there's about 15 minutes left on the cooking time for the beef. Next job is to check for seasoning. I like to add a 1/4 teaspoon each of salt and black pepper. Next to go in is a couple of bay leaves. Finally, I like to add a tablespoon of tomato puree or paste. Tomato always goes well with stewed beef. Now bring that to a simmer, get the lid on and turn down the heat as far as it'll go. Now set your timer for 1 hour. When there's only 15 minutes left, now you can add your diced kidney. Now if you don't like or can't get hold of kidney, just leave them out and add a bit more beef at the start. But it does add a wonderful, unique flavour to this savoury pudding. Right, bring that back to a simmer and restart your timer. And once the time's up, check that your meat's tender. Next step is to ladle off half of the beef stock. Now this will be used to make an incredibly tasty gravy later on. You can remove the bay leaves now. To mix up the thickener, add 2 heaped teaspoons of corn flour, you may know that as cornstarch, to 40 ml of cold water and give it a good mix. This should be enough thickener to make the gravy too. Add a little of the thickener to the pot and give it a good mix. Add more if you think it needs it. Your filling should now be thick enough to use as the pudding filling. Now cover the pan and allow it to completely cool. And you can make this filling well in advance, even the day before. Right, time to make this gorgeous leek pudding pastry. Start by adding the 3 teaspoons of baking powder to the plain or all-purpose flour and mix it in. Once mixed, sift it into a medium-sized bowl. If there's any lumps, it's probably the baking powder, just push it through with your fingers. Now add the butter to the flour and rub it in. Keep rubbing until you have a fine sandy consistency. Now it's time to add the suet. Now if you can't get hold of beef or vegetable suet where you live, you can rub in an extra 55 grams, that's 2 ounces of butter or lard or even a solid vegetable fat to the previous step. Now you can add the leeks and mix it all together. If you don't like or just can't get hold of leeks where you live, you can use spring or green onions instead. You can add a pinch of salt if you like, but remember baking powder is quite salty too, so I'm leaving it out. Now you can add the milk and using an ordinary dinner knife cut it all together. You should end up with a nice sticky dough. Now tip it out onto your bench and pull it all together and form it into a disc. Get it back into the bowl, cover it, another great use for your shower cap guys. Now let that rest for 10 minutes. For this recipe you'll need a pudding bowl or basin like this one. The top dimension and height of my bowl are on screen, and I've also greased it with lard. And you'll also need a round piece of parchment paper that'll fit your bowl with a cross pleat in it just like this one. Now get your pastry out of the bowl and cut off a piece of pastry 100 grams, that's 3.5 ounces, and this piece is for the lid of the pudding. Now form the larger piece back into a disc. Dust the bench with a little flour and place the pastry in the middle. For rolling the pastry out, I'll be using our very own adjustable stainless steel rolling pin, and these are available on the website. These fantastic rolling pins with different size spaces take all of the guesswork out of rolling your pastry out evenly and to the exact thickness that you require. And for this one I'll be using the 6mm or 1/4 inch spacer. Dust a little more flour on the top of the pastry and roll out a circle until it's 6mm or 1/4 inch thick. And if you have one of our rolling pins, just keep rolling out the circle until the spacer hits the bench. You simply can't go wrong with these rolling pins. Once your pastry's rolled, cut out a small wedge as shown. This is just so it'll fit the bowl a bit better. Now carefully start lining the greased bowl with it. Now this is a very forgiving pastry. You can gently manipulate it with your fingers until the inside of the bowl is completely covered with about 1/4 inch sticking over the top. And a very quick mention to the channel's Patreon, PayPal, Super Thanks and YouTube's new membership supporters. I'll do the name splash and shout out a little later in the video. In real time this only took about 3 minutes. Now take your lid piece of pastry plus the little wedge you cut out and form that into a disc. Now roll that out until you have a 6mm or 1/4 inch circle too. Check that it fits the inside of the bowl, and that's perfect. Now it's time for a clean up. It's time to put it all together. Right, I've had my pan sitting in a sink of cold water for the last 30 minutes and the filling is now cool enough to use. So I'll start spooning it into the basin. And I'll be filling up the bowl but stopping about 1 inch short of the top of the pastry. Give the bowl a few taps on the bench to get any air pockets out of it. OK, carefully place the lid on as shown. Now start roughly pinching the two ends of the pastry together all the way around the bowl. Once you've done that, grab your pastry brush and a little water and brush some all around the edges of both wall and lid pastries. Now get a small knife and gently fold the wall pastry over the lid as shown. Once you go all the way around, start to blend the lid together. This will create a good seal. And there you go, the filling is completely sealed in. Seamless. I love working with this pastry. Now I'm steaming mine, so I've got the base pan on boiling. Right, almost done. Centre your pleated parchment over the bowl and fasten it down with either string or elastic band. I like to use elastic band, it seems much easier. Right, place it in the steamer part. Now get that onto the pan of boiling water. Turn the heat down low and let that steam for 1 hour. And if you don't have a steamer, you can stand the bowl directly in shallow boiling water and get the lid on the pan. If you do it that way, you'll only need to cook it for 30 minutes. With Christmas just around the corner, here's a quick word about my 5 recipe books. These carefully designed books, with most recipes linked to the corresponding recipe on video via QR codes, make fantastic presents. So, to avoid the holiday rush, get your orders in early. The link for the books and all of the other equipment I use in my recipes are in the description box under the video. And thanks in advance for supporting the channel, guys. Okay, time's up on the steamer. And the aroma in this kitchen at the moment is absolutely mouth-watering. Now very carefully lift it over onto a towel on your workbench. And with your oven gloves on, lift it out onto a plate. Cut the string or the elastic band and slowly peel off the paper. It's way too hot to do anything with at the moment, so I let it settle and cool for 10 minutes. And when I come back, I'll remove it from the bowl. And of course, have a taste. Okay, it's been 10 minutes and it's cool enough to get it out. Just go around the top lip to make sure it's loose all the way around. If it's going to stick anywhere, it'll be around this top lip. Time to get it out of the bowl. Place a plate on the top of the pudding and with one hand on the bowl and one hand on the plate, gently flip it over. Use a towel if it's a bit too hot for you. Now the bowl should lift straight off, revealing that beautiful pudding. Okay, get a sharp thin bladed knife and cut a slice out. I'll try to lift it out onto the serving plate in one piece. And that looks absolutely fantastic. Must have a little gravy with this too. And all that is the stock we took out of the pan earlier, heated in a small saucepan and thickened with the remaining corn flour. And like I said earlier, it is incredibly tasty. Right, straight in for a taste, and I've been looking forward to this for the last 1.5 hours. And honestly, that is truly delicious and well worth waiting for. And I'll say it again, it's one of the most, if not the tastiest recipe you'll ever make. And I promise you now guys, if you try this recipe, it will be on your keeper list forever. It's been very popular since the mid-1800s for a reason, guys. Massive thumbs up for this one. And as promised earlier in the video, here is the latest name splash and shout out list, including YouTube's brand new loyalty membership supporters. And they are P, Mrs. C 2408, Jens K 3250, Dan Hill 6333, and finally my YouTube time 2025. Thanks very much guys, I really do appreciate all that you do in supporting the channel. Well, thank you again for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe by hitting the circle above. If you do subscribe, activate the bell icon next to the subscribe button on my channel page. And by doing that, you'll be automatically notified every time I upload a new video. And in the meantime, here's a few of my other videos and playlists that you may want to watch. So, until the next time, be safe in your kitchen and bye for now.